Hey everybody, this is a video that I am putting out as an example of how to answer the assignment questions. I hope it'll be helpful to you and kind of giving you an idea of what I'm looking for. Just a couple general notes. Number one, I always want you to show your work. And so I don't want just the answer. I want you to explain why that's the answer. These assignments are designed for you to apply what you've learned in the reading to a set of facts or circumstances. So it's real important to me that you show your work by showing how you apply what you've learned in the book to the assignment. Second tip is, and you'll recall this from my introductory video, all the answers to my assignments are in the reading or the assignment itself or the textbook. You will not get any help by Googling any answers to my assignments. That will not help you. And also, it's obvious when students have tried to do that and it just doesn't work. And so those assignments get zeros. So just know I've not given you any assignments that need any extra work. And let me give you an example of that. One of assignment 3.1 is on the McDonald's hot coffee case, which is fairly famous. Some of you may be too young to remember it, but may have heard of it. But you can Google McDonald's hot coffee case, and you'll get tons of results. But the questions that I've asked in assignment 3.1, all the answers to my questions are in the reading that I give you. So it really would be a waste of your time to go Googling McDonald's hot coffee case. And then those of you who like to cut and paste from stuff you see on the internet, that's real obvious to me too. So just know I'm not asking you to do any sort of outside work and that it doesn't help anyway. Similarly, some questions on the assignments will ask you to apply things from the text. So it's very obvious to me if you don't have the text or if you haven't read the text, and those assignments also will get zeros. So for example, assignment 3.2 is going to give you a long fact pattern, and it's going to ask you to identify all the torts that have been committed. And so what I have gotten in the past is names of torts that are not anywhere in our textbook. So while that they may be accurate, they are not answers that get any credit on my assignment because I'm asking you to use the book and apply what's in the book to the fact pattern. Similarly, what I will get often is an answer that describes an idea or a term from the text without naming it. And that tells me also that you have not read the text and you're not applying what we've been assigned to the assignment. So keep those tips in mind. I have posted to the week 3 module content section a document that is called assignment 3.2 examples for a video. It is not an assignment itself, so you don't need to complete that. But this video will be more meaningful for you if you have read that. It's a one-page document. It won't take you long. So pause right here in this recording and then go and find that document, read it, then press play again. I'm about to go over it. All right, so I'm assuming that you've either read that document or you have paused and gone and taken a look at it. Example number 1 gives a long fact pattern about my hero of business law, Johnny Swanson, who is, as I've said before, he is an idiot, and he is what I would call the average American because it's like I tell my children, most people are idiots. Nobody in this class, of course, excluded, but most people generally are. And so Johnny is king of the idiots. So Johnny owns a convenience store in Columbus called Johnny's Go-Go. His sworn enemy, Rusty, has a convenience store across the street. They have bad blood that goes way back to high school, and so they hate each other, and so they're going to have some arguments, and some torts are going to be committed. So the assignment's going to ask you to list out all the torts that you can find, and I've packed a bunch of them in here. There's a lot to kind of sort through, and I'd like for you to name as many as you can. Now, a bad answer is naming, for example, the tort of assault. Rusty assaulted Johnny. Well, what I want to see is Rusty assaulted Johnny when he took a swing at Johnny and put Johnny in fear of harm, because that is how you apply what assault is and the definition of assault to the facts that I've given you. So Johnny attacks Rusty. Terrible answer. Doesn't even name the tort. Johnny assaults Rusty with no further explanation. Not an answer that gets credit. So just want to go through that with you. So every tort that I've packed into this fact pattern is named in your chapter. I'm not asking you to name any torts that aren't in our chapter. There may also be some defenses in our chapter. So for example, there is a sentence in here that says, in retaliation, Johnny has Rusty's One Stop Sucks. That's the name of Rusty's store. Rusty's One Stop Sucks t-shirts printed and gives them away free with each gas purchase. Well, I have had answers in the past say, well, that is the tort of defamation. Well, Rusty could sue Johnny for the tort of defamation, alleging that he has published something about Johnny that is not true. But Johnny would have a defense to that because, as you all know from your reading, opinion is not a ground for defamation. And so the fact that Johnny is going to put out t-shirts that say Rusty sucks is not defamation. If he put out a t-shirt that said Rusty has gonorrhea, and that's not true, then that could be a basis for defamation. So look for clues in there. The more you can tell me about the facts, the more credit you're likely to receive. If you want to, I also put in my fact patterns, I don't make everything black and white. So if you can argue something both ways, argue it both ways. I give extra credit for good answers. What I'm looking for is for you to demonstrate that you can apply as much of the stuff that you learned in the chapter to this fact pattern. So to the extent that you can do that by stating the name of the tort, who committed it, who the victim was, why that was a tort, defenses if there were, all of that is going to be credible answers. So just be very thorough through that. Another way not to answer is if you go down to the bottom of the fact pattern, it talks about Johnny breaking into Rusty's online dating account and stealing some pictures. Well, I get some answers that say that's an invasion of privacy. Yeah, it's an invasion of privacy, but there are specific names for invasion of privacy in your book, and I want you to name which one that is, and of course why and who committed it. All right, so that is that's the hints I want to give you for the first fact pattern. The second one is about negligence, and so it's going to give you a scenario about a guy named William who operates a paintball gun course in a warehouse. And he has several folks that come in to play paintball and uses the paintball warehouse who have varying injuries that they suffered as a result of all that. William supplies the participants with guns, paintballs, goggles, and the fact pattern says that Lisa, she trips on a broken step when she's coming in the building that William keeps meaning to fix, but he hasn't got around to yet. Matt has goggles that are missing a strap, makes his goggles fall off. He gets shot in the eye. Jackie gets hit with a paintball while playing, and it says paying, but it means playing, and she gets paint on her. She demands that William pay her dry cleaning bill. Jamie's goggles break. William gives him another set, but Jamie doesn't think that the other set look as good on him, so he wears the broken set back in. They predictably fall off. He predictably gets shot in the eye. And then finally, William puts up a new billboard with some exciting pictures that are causing motorists to rubberneck, slow down, which is causing a traffic jam, which is then in turn causing one motorist to be late for his appointment, which causes that motorist to speed, which causes him to run red lights once he's well past Williams' establishment, and then he runs over a pedestrian. So that's the fact pattern for that. So the question asks you to evaluate whether or not each of those people named in this fact pattern have a case against William for negligence. So the way to evaluate this, the right way to evaluate this, is to use the ABCD version of an analyzing negligence. A, is there a duty of care? And what is that duty of care? B, has that duty of care been breached? C, did the breach cause the injury? And did the person who was injured suffer damages? So let's take Lisa, for example. Lisa tripped on the broken step when she was entering the building. William knew that it was broken. He'd been meaning to fix it and he hadn't gotten around to it. So in analyzing negligence, we're not looking for any other torts, just the tort of negligence in this question. Does William have a duty to maintain a safe entry to his building? Sure, all property owners do. Did he breach that duty? Yes, it needed repair. He knew it and he hadn't repaired it. Did his breach of the duty cause Lisa's injury? Yes. And did she suffer damages? Yes, she was injured when she fell. So in that situation, that is how I would analyze negligence. And so my conclusion as to Lisa would be that William was negligent, and I don't think there are any defenses that William has in the facts as to Lisa. All right, so let's talk about Matt. Matt's goggles have a missing strap. So does William have a duty to supply his customers with protective equipment that is not defective or broken? Absolutely. Did he breach that duty? Yeah, he gave Matt a defective set of goggles. Did that cause Matt's injury? Was it the proximate cause? Yeah, it was, and he obviously had a hurt eye. So we would conclude in this fact pattern that William is negligent as to Matt. All right, how about Jackie? She got hit by a paintball while playing, got paint on her clothes, and she wants William to compensate her for that. So does William have a duty to pay for participants' clothes that get paint on them? Is that reasonable? Would the reasonable paintball owner have that duty to a customer? Nah. You might say that William has a duty to warn customers that this game uses real paint, and the fact pattern doesn't talk about that, so that's an area if you wanted to discuss that, you could. But in general, William does not have to warn Jackie of things that are obvious. She should know, any reasonable person should know if they're going to play paintball that they could get paint on them. And then William has a defense as well, which is assumption of risk, which is that Jackie should know, a reasonable person would know that if you are playing paintball, then you might get hit with a paintball and have paint splatter on you. So remember, negligence always goes back to the reasonable person standard, and the reasonable person standard always depends on who the person is, what the situation is, and what the circumstances are. If Jackie had gotten knocked in the head by somebody else's paintball gun, then do we say that a reasonable person would expect to get knocked unconscious by somebody else's paintball gun? Probably not. But a reasonable person absolutely should expect to get paint, or that they might get paint on themselves by playing paintball. So the conclusion under that would be that William is not negligent with respect to Jackie. Jamie is a different story. Jamie had a faulty pair of goggles, came and told William, and William gave him a working set. But Jamie decided they didn't look good, so he went back in with the broken set. So William has a duty. Does William have a duty to provide working, safe goggles to his customers? Sure. Did he breach that duty? Not really. He gave Jamie a working set, and so I don't know that we'd say there's a breach there. If you want to make the argument that William should have collected the broken pair and not let Jamie have a choice, or not made sure that he put on a good pair, you might could pass the the breach part of the analysis, but then you get to the defenses for William, and those are that Jamie knew that the goggles were defective and wore them in there anyway, and so he has assumed the risk. So I don't think that a reasonable person would expect William to be responsible if someone knowingly chooses to use a defective product. That could be argued a little bit, but the conclusion would be that William is not negligent as to Jamie. On all these questions, if you can argue it and support your argument, I'm all about giving credit for a well-reasoned argument. So if somebody wanted to make the argument that William was negligent and they supported it the right way, then I would consider that. And then finally, the last person is Kate. Kate is the pedestrian who got hit. And so this is a little bit different of the analysis than we were doing because there are a lot of things that happened in between William putting up a billboard that's causing people to rubberneck and Kate getting run over. So does William have a duty to put up billboards that aren't safety hazards? Yeah, he does. Did he breach that duty? It's arguable. I mean, we don't know enough about what was actually on the billboard to say that William has breached that duty. But just for sake of discussion, let's say that whatever he put up there, he shouldn't have put up there, and it was causing all kind of safety issues. Then we get to causation. Well, did William's billboard cause Kate's injury? So remember, we read about the cause in fact and proximate cause. Those are two different things. So if William's billboard caused motorists to rubberneck and then caused the motorist to create a traffic jam, which caused somebody to be late, which caused a person to run red lights and then run over Kate, then yeah, technically William's billboard was the actual cause of Kate getting hit. But remember, tort law draws a line at proximate cause. We don't hold people accountable for injuries down the line if the person's conduct or breach of duty was not the proximate cause of the injury. Another way of saying that was Williams' conduct in putting up that billboard, was it foreseeable to a reasonable person that that would cause people to rubberneck, to have a traffic jam, to be late for work, to then run red lights, to then run over Kate? And I would argue in this situation that it is not reasonable to assume that Williams' billboard would be the proximate cause of Kate's injuries when there were so many intervening causes in between, especially since the person who was late for work made their own choice to run red lights. I mean, that just doesn't track back far enough to William to a point where we in tort law would feel that William should be responsible for that. So a good analysis of that would get you credit. What wouldn't get you credit in this question is saying Williams' billboard was not the cause of Kate's injury. Not technically correct because we do have a thing called actual cause. But also that answer omits the why. I want you to show your work. How do you come to the conclusion that Williams should not be liable for Kate's injury? So show your work, apply what you've learned in the book. Don't apply anything from outside the assignment or the book. If it has a name in the book, use it and take what you know and apply that to the facts of these assignments, and you will do well. So I hope those are helpful to you. Again, always call me, text me, email me with any questions. Good luck, everybody.